So you might be doing a classic DIY project like installing a new faucet and it came with a new drain and tailpipe. So you want to install it and you want to install it right, but there's a product you might not have ever ran across before, and that's called Plumber's Putty. So what I want to do today is introduce you to Plumber's Putty, go through how to use it, where to use it, and where not to use it, and also answer a question that's been coming in quite a bit on other videos we have out there, is how long do you let it dry before I can use my sink safely without worrying about any leaks? So let's jump into it.
I'll walk you through this example of installing this new drain tailpipe. Pretty easy overall, but it's a perfect example of how to use Plumber's Putty. So first we'll take off the flange, because the Plumber's Putty will sit between this flange, the bottom of the flange, and the surface on your vanity top. So you'll want to make sure that both are clean before you start applying your Plumber's Putty. Then all you do is take your Plumber's Putty, make sure it's at least room temperature or warmer. So if this is always sitting in my truck, so if it's a cold day, I need to warm it up before using it. Then you just pull off a nice little chunk and then start rolling that out into a nice little somewhat consistent snake. And this is where you'll really see if your Plumber's Putty is getting old or if it's still good. This is very pliable, it's not cracking, it's not easily breaking apart, so this Plumber's Putty is still good to go. Then you'll take that and you'll apply a generous bead to the flange itself, and then just go ahead and pluck that off and put the excess back in your container, and then we'll just press that on to the vanity top, starting to squish it out around the flange, but don't press too hard because I actually want to pull that down while we screw in this tailpipe. Then from under the vanity, I'll take the tailpipe, making sure the nut is fully backed out. I have a nice little washer between the gasket. Then I'll insert that up and through and start to rotate to thread it into the flange on the top side. Once it's fully threaded in, I'll make sure that the hole for the pivot rod's facing the back, and then that's where you'll start to tighten the nut down here. But let's go back up so you can see how the Plumber's Putty starts to push out around the flange. I'll continue to tighten the nut from down below, and you'll see that the Plumber's Putty will start to push out from around the flange. Before I do my final tightening, what I would do is install my P-trap, make sure that's all tightened to the tailpipe, install my pivot rod and the drain stopper down through. I'd make sure all that is installed so that when I do my final tightening, I'm not disturbing the Plumber's Putty anymore. I'm not rotating, I'm not pivoting, I'm not doing anything that would break that seal, because you can see I have a nice seal all the way around right now. So before I do the final tightening, I'm gonna get everything else set up. Then I would tighten that down, and that's gonna make a great seal, and I'd peel off all the extra. With everything in place and the final tightening done, now I'm just going to remove the extra. I am interested to hear from you guys, especially those with experience. How long do you let this dry before you would start to use it and let water run over it without any leaks? I will give you my answer here in just a minute, but I'm always interested to get your guys' feedback, so jump down in the comments and let me know. So you'll clean this up a little bit, trying to get all the excess off. And then again, I just put it back into my container. I know some people don't like that. They think it's a little bit more contaminated now that it's been out and you're kind of touching multiple surfaces, but I'm okay with putting that back in the container. It's still clean and good to go for the next use.
Application of Plumber's Putty is really as easy as that demonstration. Now where I use it for all my different drains. So whether that is a new drain going in my tub, I'm doing a new strainer basket on a kitchen sink, all those are going to be very similar to this application. I also like to use Plumber's Putty underneath the lip of a kitchen sink if I'm installing that into a hole in laminate countertop. Do be careful, Plumber's Putty is not ideal for porous rocks such as granite. Now, dry time. This has been a question that comes up because people have it done and they say, hey, I want to use my kitchen, but when's this thing going to dry? When is it good to use? It actually is not going to dry. That's part of the design. maybe over 10 or 15 years it'll dry out, but it's gonna stay pliable and it's not gonna dry out. So you can use it right away. There is no dry time. As soon as you install it, you have that good seal, you can finish everything up and go back to using your sink. So the answer is 0 dry time for plumber's putty. Now, if you think differently, I always welcome comments. Jump down there and let me know your reasoning, but for me, 0 dry time. Where not to use it. Plumber's putty would never substitute something like Teflon tape that you put on pipe thread. You're not gonna wrap it around any sort of pressurized pipe and stop a leak. I've even seen plumber's putty used as you have a tailpipe here into your P-trap, and at the slip nut it was leaking, so people packed in plumber's putty around that slip nut. Not effective. Do not use it for that. It's not gonna work. Let me know what else you guys use it plumber's putty for, and also what have you seen it used for? What is the craziest use case that was completely not effective but somebody thought plumber's putty would do the trick? Now, if you haven't already subscribed to our channel, jump down there, hit the red button and the bell notification, as we have multiple videos coming out per week to help you with repairs and improvements around the house, and we'll catch you on the next one. Take care.